I started out designing and building laser systems for remote sensing of the atmosphere, and then I went on to work in the remote sensing branch, heading up all of the remote sensing activity that we were doing at Langley Research Center and managing the electro-optics and controls branch. Then I had the opportunity to go to NASA headquarters and be the associate director for all of the missions that are probing the Earth to answer a specific scientific question. Then I got to go to be, that was in the Science Mission Directorate. Then I got to go to the Office of the Administrator, and I was the Assistant Associate Administrator for NASA. We were responsible for the oversight of the 10 NASA centers. And then I was honored to go over to the White House for a special assignment, a detail assignment. At the end of the George Bush era, I got to be there for the transition and then watched as the Obama team, we brought the Obama team on board, and then the Obama team asked me to stay for an additional year to transition the National Science and Technology Council, of which I was the executive director, so that we could actually give it more teeth and to make it more effective. So I got to work with the Obama administration for a little over a year. And then I came to Goddard, NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, where I am currently the Deputy Center Director responsible for research and technology. I'm the one that's responsible for leading the team of scientists and engineers to determine what kinds of missions are we going to do in the future in earth science and astrophysics and heliophysics and planetary science. And then putting together a portfolio of technologies and making sure that we've matured those technologies in time to infuse them into the amazing missions that we're designing for the future. I think when I was very, very young, I was watching the moon landing on television. They were kind of recapping it and having programs to kind of go over what happened back then. And as a very young girl sitting at the dinner table with my parents, I said, oh, I want to be an astronaut one day. And my parents said to me, you can do whatever you want to do. If you can conceive it in your mind, then you can achieve it. So if you want to be an astronaut, you just have to make it so. And he said, no one is going to give it to you. No one is going to, create it for you. You have to make it happen. And so all of my life going up from then, when I was in elementary school, my parents were helping me along the way to focus on math and science and to do well in those topics. All the way up until I started working on my master's degree and NASA hired me. And at that point in time, I got to really understand what it means to be an astronaut. And once I learned that some of the training requires you to be zipped into a ball to make sure you're not claustrophobic, I knew it was not for me. I knew that I would stay down on the ground. I'd be one of those engineers that made it safe for someone else to be an astronaut to go in space, and we'd make sure that we brought them back safely. We have many activities that are being planned at NASA. There's a whole suite of them that will be taking place over multiple weeks. And so there's a list that you can look up on website and see. But for us, we are doing several things on center, inviting people in, retelling the stories, inviting astronauts out to be able to talk about what has happened. But we're also going to be focused on the future. We are going to be going back to the moon, having the first woman and the next man on the surface of the moon by 2024. That's only 5 years away. So we'll be doing a lot of talking about what do we have to do and what do we have to do as partners with the international community to make sure that we can do that in 5 years. That means taking innovation from anywhere we can find it around the corners of the world and being able to bring people together towards a common goal and a common mission so that we can actually make this happen. Oh, there's a lot to learn about the moon. I don't think that we've even scratched the surface in terms of our knowledge of exactly everything about the moon in terms of the environment, composition of the environment. We know a lot about it, but we certainly don't know everything. And when it comes to being able to have a sustainable presence on the moon, that is where the learning is really going to begin. When we try to put humans there for an extended period of time, not just go and put your foot down and walk around a little bit and then come back, it's a totally different game when you're talking about living there. And so for us to be able to establish a habitat on the surface of the moon and to be able to have people who will be able to stay there for extended periods of time, we're going to have to make sure their bodies are physically able to handle that, and mentally they'll be able to handle that. There's a lot of studying that has to be done to make sure that we're going to be able to have large groups of people to do that over an extended period of time. So I would say that technology is certainly not just for boys. Technology is for everyone. And when I say technology, I mean science, technology, engineering, and math. So many times our young girls are told, math is too hard, science is not for you, that's for the boys. You go off and do some other things. Well, I would say absolutely not. When it comes to innovation, we need for young girls to be engaged, because when you have diversity in thinking, and that means total diversity, not just boy to girl, but in age diversity, race diversity, gender diversity, every kind of diversity you can imagine, that's when you get the most creative and the most successful, innovative ideas, when you bring those kind of things together. So I'd say for young girls, you cannot allow anyone to persuade you to go away from math and science. No one can tell you what's possible for you in your life. No one can tell you what you can do and what you can't do. No one can establish your dreams but you, and nobody can stop you from achieving your dreams but you. So whatever you're going to do, I'll say like my parents said to me, you have to make it so.